scrubbing hospital floors on your hands and knees, tears mixing with the bleach, because your coworkers just call you trash for not affording a fancy dress. But what if that humiliation sparked a fairy tale twist that left everyone speechless? Stick around, because this nurse's story of sweet, satisfying justice will have you cheering by the end. If you've ever been looked down on, underestimated, or treated like you're invisible just because life dealt you a rough hand, this one's for you. Hit that like button if you're ready for some feel-good payback, subscribe for more epic revenge tales from Reddit, and let's dive into a story that'll restore your faith in karma. Our story centers on Emily, a 28-year-old nurse working the night shift at a bustling city hospital. Picture this: dim fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, the constant beep of monitors, the sharp tang of antiseptic in the air that clings to your scrubs like a second skin. Emily wasn't just any nurse, she was the one who stayed late, holding patients' hands through their darkest hours, whispering words of comfort when no one else would. But behind her warm smile hid a world of struggle. Raised in a single-parent home after her dad walked out, Emily had clawed her way through nursing school on scholarships and ramen noodles. Now, with student loans piling up like an avalanche, she lived in a cramped apartment where the heat flickered on and off, and her wardrobe consisted of faded scrubs and thrift store finds that screamed barely making it. The injustice started brewing about 6 months ago, when the hospital announced its annual gala, a glitzy fundraiser where staff mingled with donors under chandeliers, sipping champagne and networking for promotions. It was the kind of event that could change your career trajectory. But for Emily, it was a nightmare. The dress code? Black tie formal. Emily's heart sank as she scrolled through online stores, her fingers hovering over dresses that cost more than her monthly rent. How am I supposed to afford this? She thought, her stomach twisting into knots. She confided in her coworkers during a break room chat, hoping for empathy. Big mistake. Enter the antagonists, a clique of senior nurses led by Karen A. Yes. Her name was actually Karen A sharp-tongued woman in her 40s with perfectly manicured nails and a wardrobe funded by her surgeon husband's salary. Karen and her crew were the hospital's mean girls, the ones who whispered about standards and professional image while flashing their designer bags. When Emily admitted she couldn't afford a dress, Karen's lips curled into a smirk. "Oh honey," she said, her voice dripping with fake pity, loud enough for the whole room to hear. "If you can't even dress the part, maybe nursing isn't for you. We can't have you showing up looking like you crawled out of a dumpster. It reflects on all of us." The others snickered, one adding, "Yeah, maybe skip it this year. Save up for next time." If there was one. Emily's cheeks burned, her fists clenching under the table. Inside, a storm raged. Who do they think they are? "I've saved more lives this month than they've manicured in a year." But she bit her tongue, swallowing the lump in her throat, and excused herself to the bathroom where hot tears streamed down her face. That night, alone in her apartment, she stared at her reflection in a cracked mirror, feeling small, powerless, like the world was rigged against people like her. The tension escalated over the next few weeks. Karen's crew didn't let up, subtle digs in the hallways, like leaving fashion magazines on Emily's locker with circles around expensive gowns, or accidentally excluding her from group chats about the gala. "Poor thing can't even buy a ticket to her own fairy tale," one texted in a thread Emily wasn't supposed to see. Emily's shifts felt heavier, the weight of their judgment pressing on her chest like a lead dip during x-rays. She started doubting herself. Maybe they're right. Maybe I don't belong here. Her confidence waned, and she even considered skipping the event altogether, resigning herself to another night of microwave dinners and Netflix reruns. But fate had other plans. Enter Mr. Harrington, or as Emily knew him, the father of little Timmy, a 10-year-old boy battling leukemia in her ward. Mr. Harrington was a widower, a self-made tech mogul worth billions, but you'd never guess it from his humble demeanor. He spent hours by Timmy's bedside, his tailored suits rumpled from sleepless nights, his eyes etched with worry. Emily had been Timmy's primary nurse for months, going above and beyond, sneaking in his favorite comics, staying late to read stories when Mr. Harrington had board meetings. One evening, as Emily adjusted Timmy's for, Mr. Harrington watched her with a quiet intensity. "You have a gift, Emily," he said softly, his voice gravelly from exhaustion. "Timmy lights up when you're here. You've been our rock." Emily blushed, waving it off. "Just doing my job, sir." But inside, her heart fluttered, a rare spark of validation in her sea of doubt. As the gala approached, Mr. Harrington overheard Emily venting to a sympathetic colleague about the dress dilemma. Later that night, after Timmy fell asleep, he pulled her aside in the quiet hallway. The air hummed with the distant whir of machines, and Emily's pulse quickened as he cleared his throat. "Emily, I know this might sound forward," he began, his hands fidgeting with his watch, a telltale sign of nerves from a man who commanded boardrooms. "But I've been alone since my wife passed 5 years ago. Timmy adores you, Aunt. Well, I've come to admire you too. Would you do me the honor of being my date to the gala?" "My first real date in years." Emily's world tilted, her mind raced. "Is this real? Me? With him?" Shock gave way to a warm rush, but practical fears crept in. I can't, Mr. Harrington. I don't have anything to wear." He smiled gently, his eyes crinkling. "Call me James, and leave that to me. Consider it my thank you for everything you've done for us." The turning point hit Emily like a jolt of adrenaline. That night, she lay awake, replaying Karen's sneers in her head. "No more hiding," she thought, her jaw setting with determination. "This is my chance to show them I'm more than my paycheck." James, true to his word, arranged everything discreetly. A personal stylist arrived at Emily's apartment with a selection of gowns, elegant, floor-length silks that whispered against her skin like a dream. She chose a deep emerald dress that hugged her curves, making her feel powerful, beautiful, worthy. As she whirled in front of the mirror, a fire ignited in her chest. "They think I'm trash, watch me shine." Planning the revenge, though it felt more like poetic justice, was simple yet thrilling. Emily kept it secret, herselfing to the gala without a word to her tormentors. Her heart pounded during the days leading up, a mix of excitement and anxiety. What if they still laugh? What if I trip in these heels? But James's encouraging texts, "You deserve this, Emily." "Can't wait to see their faces," steeled her resolve. The night arrived. The gala venue, a sparkling ballroom with crystal chandeliers casting rainbows on polished floors, the air thick with perfume and laughter. Emily stepped out of James's sleek black limo, her arm linked with his, the cool evening breeze kissing her bare shoulders. Heads turned as they entered, whispers rippling through the crowd. But the real magic happened when Karen's group spotted her. Karen's champagne flute froze mid-sip, her eyes widening like saucers. "Is that Emily, with James Harrington, the billionaire donor?" one gasped. Karen's face strained of color, her smirk twisting into a forced smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Emily, you clean up nice," she stammered, her voice cracking as she eyed the dress. The diamonds James had loaned her sparkling like stars. Emily met her gaze steadily, a serene smile playing on her lips. "Thanks, Karen. Turns out, kindness opens more doors than a credit card." James squeezed her hand, pride beaming from him as he introduced her to the hospital board. "This is the incredible woman who's been saving my son's life." Applause erupted, and offers of promotions buzzed in the air. Karen slunk away, her crew scattering like shadows, their earlier cruelty exposed in the harsh light of Emily's triumph. Relief washed over Emily in waves, her chest lightening, tears of joy pricking her eyes as she danced with James, feeling seen, valued, unstoppable. Stories like this remind us that true justice often comes not from spite, but from rising above the noise. Karma has a way of circling back, rewarding those who lead with heart. What do you think? Does everyone get their due eventually? Phew. If that payoff gave you the chills like it did me, smash that like button right now and drop a comment below. What's the most epic revenge or comeback you've ever seen or pulled off? Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more Reddit stories that hit you right in the feels. In the dim glow of the hospital ward, where the air hummed with a steady beep of monitors and the faint scent of antiseptic clung to everything, Emily Thompson wiped sweat from her brow. Her scrubs, faded and threadbare from countless washes, hung loosely on her frame, a testament to the long hours and meager paychecks that defined her life. At 28, she had poured her soul into nursing, caring for the sick with the gentleness that masked her own hardships. Raised in poverty after her father abandoned the family, Emily had fought tooth and nail through school, surviving on scholarships and side gigs. Now, buried under student loans, she lived in a tiny apartment where the walls seemed to close in each night. Her colleagues, a tight-knit group of senior nurses, never let her forget her struggles. Led by Vanessa, a sharp-tongued woman with designer handbags and a condescending smile, they mocked her relentlessly. "Look at Emily's rags," Vanessa would whisper during breaks, her voice carrying just far enough. "How does she even show up like that? It's embarrassing for the whole team." The others laughed, their eyes flicking over Emily's worn shoes and patched uniform. One day, as Emily confided her inability to afford a new outfit for the hospital's charity gala, Vanessa's laughter echoed through the break room. "Poor thing," she sneered. "Maybe stick to the shadows where you belong." Emily's cheeks burned, but she swallowed her pride, focusing on her patients like little Alex, a brave 7-year-old fighting cancer, and his devoted father, billionaire tech mogul Daniel Hargrove, who watched over him with quiet intensity. Emily's hands trembled as she adjusted the forward drip in Alex's arm, the boy's small frame looking even tinier against the stark white sheets. It was a quiet evening in the oncology ward, the kind where the weight of unspoken fears hung heavy in the air. Daniel Hargrove sat nearby, his broad shoulders slumped in exhaustion, his expensive suit rumpled from days spent by his son's bedside. At 42, Daniel was a man who had built an empire from nothing. A Hargrove Tech, a powerhouse in software that had made him one of the world's wealthiest individuals. But wealth couldn't shield him from this nightmare. Alex's leukemia diagnosis 6 months ago had shattered his world. His wife had passed away years earlier in a tragic accident, leaving him to raise Alex alone amidst board meetings and global travels. Now, he was just a father, vulnerable and grateful for any kindness shown to his child. Emily had been Alex's primary nurse since the beginning. She didn't just administer meds or check vitals, she brought light into the room. She'd sneak in Alex's favorite superhero comics, sit with him during chemo sessions telling stories of brave knights and dragons, and even learn simple magic tricks to coax a smile from his pale lips. "You're like a real-life hero, Nurse Emily," Alex would say, his voice weak but his eyes sparkling. Daniel noticed it all. From his chair, he'd watch her with a mix of admiration and something deeper. Her compassion reminded him of the warmth his late wife had possessed. Emily, with her soft brown hair tied back in a practical ponytail and her hazel eyes that held a quiet strength, moved with a grace born of empathy, not privilege. That night, as Alex drifted off to sleep, Daniel cleared his throat, breaking the silence. "Emily," he said, his voice low and steady, like the hum of a well-oiled machine. "You've been incredible with Alex. I don't know how we'd manage without you." She looked up, surprised, her cheeks flushing under the fluorescent lights. "It's my job, Mr. Hargrove, but thank you." He hesitated, running a hand through his salt and pepper hair. "Call me Daniel, and it's more than a job. You've given him hope." Yes, hope. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the beeps and whirs faded away. Emily felt a flutter in her chest, unfamiliar and warm, but she pushed it aside. Men like Daniel didn't notice women like her. Not really. The mocking had started subtly but grew like a weed in the fertile soil of workplace pettiness. Vanessa and her clique, 3 other nurses who orbited her like satellites, had always been the queens of the floor, their shifts filled with gossip and subtle power plays. Vanessa, married to a successful doctor, flaunted her life, weekend getaways, luxury spa days, and outfits that screamed affluence. Emily, in contrast, was the outsider, the one who volunteered for extra shifts to make ends meet, who ate packed lunches of peanut butter sandwiches while they dined on takeout from upscale cafes. It began with sidelong glances at her scuffed sneakers, then escalated to helpful comments. "Emily, dear, have you considered updating your wardrobe? Patients might feel more confident with the polished look," Vanessa said one afternoon in the nurses' station, her tone laced with false concern. The others nodded, one adding, "Yeah, it's all about presentation. You don't want to look underfunded." But the real humiliation came during preparations for the annual hospital gala, a black tie event fundraiser that drew donors, doctors, and staff alike. It was the social highlight, a chance to network and shine. Emily had never attended. The ticket alone was a luxury she couldn't afford, let alone a gown. In the break room one day, as the group buzzed about dresses and dates, Emily admitted quietly, "I wish I could go, but it's just not in the budget right now." Vanessa's eyes lit up like a predator spotting prey. "Oh, honey," she cooed, loud enough for everyone to hear, "if you can't even afford a decent dress, maybe it's best you don't. We'd hate for you to feel out of place in your everyday attire." Laughter rippled through the room, sharp and cutting. Emily's throat tightened, her fists clenching in her lap. She excused herself, retreating to the supply closet where she let silent tears fall, the sting of their words burning deeper than any wound she'd treated. From then on, the taunts became relentless. Vanessa left fashion magazines on Emily's locker, pages dog-eared to exorbitant gowns with notes like "Dream Big" scrawled in the margins. During handovers, they'd forget to include her in discussions, whispering just out of earshot. "Poor Emily, always scrapping by," one said once, not bothering to lower her voice. "How does she even afford to eat?" Emily's confidence eroded, her once bright spirit dimming. She'd stare at her reflection in the bathroom mirror, seeing not the dedicated nurse but the rags they describe as faded scrubs with holes mended by hand, hair frizzy from cheap shampoo. Nights at home were worse. Her apartment, a one-room walk-up in a run-down building, echoed with loneliness. The fridge hummed emptily, stocked with generics, and her bed was a lumpy futon salvaged from a curb. "Why me?" she'd whisper into the darkness, curling up with the ache of injustice. But she endured, pouring her pain into her work, especially with Alex. Daniel, meanwhile, was grappling with his own turmoil. Alex's treatments were grueling, but the boy's resilience inspired him. And Emily, she was the beacon. He'd catch himself stealing glances at her gentle touch as she comforted Alex, her laugh like a melody breaking the monotony. Widowed for 5 years, Daniel had buried himself in work, avoiding connections that might reopen old wounds. But here, in this sterile world, something stirred. One evening, after a particularly tough day when Alex's fever spiked, Emily stayed late, holding the boy's hand until it passed. Daniel watched, moved. As she gathered her things to leave, he approached. "Emily, can I talk to you?" His voice was tentative, belying his boredom confidence. They stepped into the quiet hallway, the linoleum cool underfoot, the air carrying faint echoes of distant conversations. "I've been thinking," Daniel began, his blue eyes searching hers. "The gala is coming up. I know it's not your scene, but would you go with me as my date?" Emily's heart skipped. "Me? But why?" He smiled softly, vulnerability etching his features. "Because you're real, kind, and Alex adores you. It would mean the world to Hema and to me." She hesitated, the mockery echoing in her mind. "I don't have anything to wear. I can't afford." He waved it off. "Let me handle that. Please, say yes." Overwhelmed, she nodded, a spark igniting within her, a chance to rise above the derision. The days leading to the gala were a whirlwind. Daniel, true to his word, arranged for a stylist to visit Emily's apartment. The woman arrived with racks of gowns, each more exquisite than the last, silks that shimmered like moonlight, velvet soft as whispers. Emily tried them on, the fabrics caressing her skin, transforming her reflection into someone elegant, powerful. She chose a midnight blue gown that hugged her figure, its neckline adorned with subtle crystals that caught the light like stars, matching heels, jewelry loaned from Daniel's collection. It was surreal. "This can't be happening," she thought, whirling in front of her cracked mirror, a smile breaking through the doubt. But beneath the excitement lurked fear. What if Vanessa and the others still saw the poor nurse? Daniel's encouraging calls eased her nerves. "You deserve this, Emily. Let them see the queen you are." The night arrived, the gala venue a grand ballroom in a historic hotel, chandeliers dripping crystals overhead, tables laden with gourmet hors d'oeuvres, and a string quartet filling the air with melody. Emily arrived in Daniel's chauffeured limo, her arm linked with his as they stepped onto the red carpet. Flash bulbs popped from photographers said Daniel was a big donor, after all. Heads turned, murmurs rippling. "Who's that with Hargrove?" Emily's pulse raced, but Daniel's steady presence grounded her. Inside, The room buzzed with elegancia, doctors in tuxedos, donors in finery, the scent of perfumes mingling with champagne bubbles. Then came the moment. Vanessa's group clustered near the bar, sipping cocktails, their laughter artificial. When they spotted Emily, glasses paused midair. Vanessa's face paled, her perfectly lined lips parting in shock. "Emily, is that you?" she stammered, eyes darting from the gown to Daniel. The others gaped, one whispering, "With Hargrove." "How?" Emily met Vanessa's gaze, her voice calm but laced with triumph. "Yes, it's me." "Turns out, kindness trumps couture." Daniel beamed, introducing her to the hospital's CEO. "This is Emily Thompson, the extraordinary nurse who's been a lifesaver for my son." Applause followed, whispers of admiration spreading. "Offers poor Dina promotions, scholarships to advance her career." Vanessa slunk away, her clique dissolving, their mockery exposed as petty envy. As the evening unfolded, Emily danced with Daniel under the lights, his hand warm on her waist. "You look stunning," he murmured. "But it's your heart that captivates me." She laughed, free for the first time, the weight of years lifting. Later, by a balcony overlooking the city skyline, twinkling like a sea of diamonds, Daniel pulled her close. "Emily, this isn't just about tonight. I want more out with you." Her breath caught, tears of joy welling. "I do too." They kissed, soft and promising, the world fading. In the weeks that followed, their bond deepened. Daniel courted her properly at quiet dinners, walks and parks where Alex could join, his health improving thanks to a breakthrough treatment. Emily's life transformed. Daniel paid off her loans, insisting it was an investment in her future. She pursued a master's in nursing, her confidence soaring. At work, Vanessa's influence waned. Complaints about her behavior surfaced, leading to a demotion. Emily, now seen as a rising star, mentored new nurses, sharing her story as inspiration. One crisp autumn day, Daniel proposed on a private yacht, Alex beaming as ring-bearer. "Will you be my queen?" he asked, down on one knee, a radiant diamond in hand. "Yes," she whispered, her rags to riches tale complete. Their wedding was intimate, Alex walking her down the aisle, the hospital staff minus Vanessa cheering. Emily Hargrove, once mocked, now reigned in a life of love and luxury, her compassion her true crown. And in quiet moments, she'd reflect, sometimes, the universe conspires to elevate the overlooked, turning mockery into majesty. In the fluorescent-lit corridors of St. Mary's Hospital, where the scent of antiseptic mingled with the faint hum of machinery, Lily Carter moved with quiet purpose. At 26, she was a dedicated nurse, her worn scrubs a badge of her relentless work ethic. Raised by a single mother in a rough neighborhood, Lily had fought her way through nursing school on scholarships and part-time jobs, only to face a mountain of debt and a paycheck that barely covered her rent. Her tiny apartment, with its flickering lights and peeling wallpaper, was a stark reminder of her struggles. At work, she poured her heart into her patients, but her colleagues, a clique of affluent nurses led by Monica, a woman with a sharp tongue and a penchant for designer shoes, never let her forget her place. Monica's sneers were subtle but cutting. "Lily, those scrubs are practically falling apart." "Don't you ever treat yourself?" the others would chime in, their laughter stinging like needles. The hospital's annual gala, a lavish fundraiser, loomed large, and when Lily admitted she couldn't afford a dress, Monica's eyes gleamed with malice. "Oh, sweetie, maybe just watch from the sidelines this year," she said in the break room, her voice loud enough to draw smirks. "We wouldn't want you embarrassing us in front of the donors." Lily's chest tightened, but she forced a smile, hiding the hurt that gnawed at her. Among her patients was 8-year-old Sophie, a bright-eyed girl battling a rare heart condition. Sophie's father, Ethan Caldwell, was a billionaire real estate magnate, his tailored suits a stark contrast to the sterile ward. Widowed and fiercely protective, Ethan spent hours by Sophie's side, his stoic demeanor softening only when Lily entered with her warm smile and gentle touch. She'd bring Sophie coloring books, sing softly during painful procedures, and stay late to ease the girl's fears. Ethan noticed, his piercing green eyes lingering on Lily's kindness. One evening, as Lily adjusted Sophie's monitors, he spoke up. "You're extraordinary with her, Lily." "Thank you." Blushing, She brushed it off. "Just doing my job, Mr. Caldwell." But his gratitude planted a seed of hope in her weary heart. The bullying intensified as the gala approached. Monica's clique turned it into a sport, leaving glossy magazines on Lily's locker with post-it notes. "Maybe one day, Lily." They'd whisper about her charity case vibe, their words slicing through her confidence. One day, Monica accidentally spilled coffee on Lily's scrubs, smirking as she apologized. "Oops, maybe it's time for a new set anyway." Humiliated, Lily retreated to the staff bathroom, her reflection in the cracked mirror showing tired eyes and a clenched jaw. "Why do they hate me?" she thought, wiping away tears. At home, she'd lie on her lumpy mattress, the city's noise seeping through thin walls, and wonder if she'd ever escape the judgment. Ethan, meanwhile, was grappling with his own battles. Sophie's condition required a risky surgery, and the weight of it left him sleepless. Lily's presence was a lifeline. Her calm competence and genuine care gave him hope. He'd been alone since his wife's death, his heart guarded, but Lily's resilience stirred something in him. Overhearing her mention the gala dress issue to a friend, he saw an opportunity. After a late shift, he caught her in the hallway, the air cool and quiet. "Lily," he said, his voice steady but warm, "would you be my date to the gala?" "Sophie would love it, Aunt." "So would I." Stunned, Lily stammered, "I don't have a dress, Mr. Caldwell." "I can't." He cut her off with a smile. "Call me Ethan, and don't worry about the dress. Let me take care of it." Her heart raced at a mix of disbelief and a daring spark. Maybe, just maybe, she could turn the tables. Lily stood in her cramped apartment, staring at the transformation unfolding before her. A stylist, sent by Ethan, had arrived with a van full of couture gowns, each more breathtaking than the last. Silks shimmered under the dim bulb of her ceiling light, satins whispered against her skin, and delicate beadwork sparkled like captured starlight. She tried on several, her breath catching at the stranger and her mere aura, a woman who looked powerful, elegant, not the charity case Monica had branded her. She chose a deep sapphire gown, its fitted bodice accentuating her frame, the flowing skirt cascading like a midnight river. The stylist added diamond earrings and a delicate necklace, both on loan from Ethan's collection, and heels that clicked with authority. "This is really me," Lily whispered, her fingers brushing the fabric, a fire igniting in her chest. For the first time, she felt not just worthy but unstoppable. The days before the gala were a whirlwind of nerves and anticipation. Lily kept her plans secret, dodging Monica's taunts with a quiet resolve. "Not going to the gala, huh?" "Smart move," Monica said one day, flipping her hair. Lily just smiled, her heart pounding with the secret she carried. Ethan's texts kept her grounded. "You're going to shine, Lily. They won't know what hit them." At night, she'd lie awake, rehearsing scenarios in her head. What if they still laughed? What if she didn't belong? But the memory of Monica's coffee stunt, the sting of those magazines, fueled her. "I'm done hiding," she told herself, her jaw set. She practiced walking in the heels, her steps growing steadier, mirroring the strength building within. The gala was held at the Grand Regency Hotel, a palatial venue with marble floors and chandeliers that cast golden light across the ballroom. The air buzzed with clinking glasses, laughter, and the soft strains of a live orchestra. Lily arrived in Ethan's sleek black Rolls-Royce, her arm linked with his as they stepped onto the red carpet. Cameras flashed. Ethan was a major donor, his presence a headline in itself. Lily's heart thundered, but his steady hand on hers anchored her. "You're breathtaking," he murmured, his eyes warm with admiration. She felt the gown's weight, not as a burden but as armor, each step a declaration. "I am here." Inside, the crowd was a sea of tuxedos and glittering dresses, the elite of the medical and donor worlds mingling over champagne. Lily scanned the room, her pulse quickening as she spotted Monica's clique near a towering floral centerpiece, their designer gowns gleaming. Monica held court, her laugh sharp, her eyes scanning for the next target. Then they landed on Lily. The glass in Monica's hand froze mid-sip, her perfectly painted lips parting in disbelief. "Lily?" she choked out, her voice barely audible over the music. The others turned, their faces a mix of shock and envy. "Is that with Caldwell?" one whispered, her clutch slipping slightly. Monica's eyes darted from the gown to Ethan, her composure cracking like thin ice. Lily met Monica's gaze, her chin lifting. "Surprised to see me, Monica?" she said, her voice calm but edged with steel. "Guess I found a way to treat myself after all." Ethan stepped forward, his presence commanding. "This is Lily Carter," he announced to a nearby group of hospital board members, his voice carrying. "The nurse who's been a godsend to my daughter. She's the real star tonight." Applause rippled through the crowd, heads turning, whispers spreading. The board's chairman approached, offering Lily a scholarship for advanced training. "We need more like you," he said. Another mentioned the leadership role opening soon. Lily's chest swelled, the years of being belittled dissolving in the warmth of validation. Monica tried to recover, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Well, you certainly clean up nice," she said, her tone brittle. Lily's smile was serene, a quiet triumph. "Thanks, Monica." "Turns out, heart matters more than a credit card." The clique fell silent, their usual barbs defanged. Monica excused herself, muttering about a refill, her posse trailing like deflated balloons. Lily felt a weight lift, her shoulders relaxing as she realized she'd won not just the night, but her dignity. Ethan led her to the dance floor, the orchestra swelling into a waltz. His hand was warm on her waist, his smile genuine. "You handled that like a queen," he said, spinning her gently. She laughed, the sound free and unguarded, the first in months. The room blurred as chandeliers, faces, all fading as they moved together. Later, on a balcony overlooking the city's twinkling skyline, Ethan turned to her, his expression serious. "Lily, tonight wasn't just about the gala. I've watched you with Sophie, seen your strength. I'm not good at this, but I'd like to see where this goes with us." Her breath caught, tears prickling and not of pain, but joy. "I'd like that too," she whispered, their lips meeting softly, the world shrinking to just them. In the months that followed, Lily's life transformed. Sophie's surgery was a success, and Ethan's gratitude deepened into love. He paid off Lily's student loans, calling it an investment in the future. She enrolled in a master's program, her career soaring as she took on mentorship roles. At the hospital, Monica's rain crumbled. Complaints about her bullying surfaced, leading to a transfer to a less prestigious ward. Lily, once the outcast, became a beacon for new nurses, sharing her story of resilience. Ethan proposed a year later, under a canopy of stars at his vineyard estate, Sophie cheering as ring-bearer. "Will you be my family?" he asked. Lily said yes, her journey from rags to royalty complete. Reflecting on it all, Lily realized the true victory wasn't the gown or the gala, it was reclaiming her worth. The snobs had underestimated her, but kindness and grit had turned the tables. As she stood with Ethan and Sophie, watching a sunset paint the sky, she knew, sometimes, the universe rewards those who endure with the crown forged from their own strength.